My beautiful faith family, I want you all to know that it is a very beautiful experience to walk by faith, to walk in purpose, to explore purpose and what that means to serve a king in your divine, unique calling. But it is equally as frustrating to try to explain your unique calling to people who simply do not understand. If you clicked on this video or if you resonate with this introduction, you are in the right place at the right time. My name is Samara. I am your host and founder here at Healed Women, and we are a growing, thriving community of men and women, kings and queens, on fire for becoming men and women of extraordinary faith, worth, and valor, and for overcoming toxic mindsets as it relates to love, dating, and relationships through Christ-centered recovery. My dear, my king, my queen, you know, Healed Woman is all about purpose, all about walking in purpose and pursuing, being about our Father's business and pursuing the things that He places on our heart in the season He tells us to do them, okay? To obeying swiftly and obediently and diligently, okay? But one of the things that I definitely wanted to address on Struggles of a Faith Walk is trying to explain or trying to get people to see your unique path the way God sees you, or the way that God has impressed it upon your spirit to view the world, okay? It's a beautiful thing to serve a king, but it is not the most easiest, or it's not the easiest or most painless experience on this earth. In fact, it's the direct opposite. Following after God means that you will have to abandon everything, from the logical to the conventional, from the things that you can see, touch, sense, to the things that you're going to have to tune into your spirit to be able to discern, okay? Following after God, serving a king, will require you to die to self daily, to lay down who you are at your very core, to pick up your cross and follow after God, to follow after a spirit that you cannot see, that you can only feel and discern in the spiritual realm, to build for an invisible yet eternal kingdom, okay? To lay aside your wants and desires for the needs of the body and for the instructions of your king. And these are beautiful things if you're walking in them, but for the average person, for the non-believer, even for the lukewarm believer, they do not understand our life. They do not understand what it takes to serve a king, what it means to live for Jesus, okay? What it means to die to self. And while this video isn't inherently about how to convince someone to do that, it is going to be exploring how you can find peace in embracing your own unique path without necessarily living at odds with people who don't, okay? So I definitely wanted to encourage you all. I'll kind of give you my own personal testimony, to kick things off, and then give you all some encouragement on what it means, to walk an unconventional path and how to deal with people who simply do not understand what that means, okay? So let's start with a little testimony time, okay? When people do not understand the unique path that you are called to walk, they will do everything in their power to try to dissuade you from pursuing it, okay? So when people do not understand that you are called to a unique path, that you're called to do things unconventionally or out of the norm, or to do something new, as in Isaiah 43:18, behold, I'm doing a new thing. When God's people understand that God is doing something new, but the people around you do not understand that, they will not be able to conceptualize what this new thing could be and why you're called to live so distinctly from those around you, okay? It could be based on jealousy. It could be that people are seeing that you do walk in favor, that you do walk in the light, that you do walk with a certain level of authority about your life, and they do not understand how you can continue living the life that you're living and still be called blessed or favored, okay? It could be based on jealousy or envy. It could be based on the unknowing. People literally just do not know what it means to walk as a favored daughter or a son of the Most High. They don't know what it means to be anointed, to be blessed, to be, set apart. People have no idea what the set apart life is if they've never lived a set apart life, okay? And so that's something that I use to introduce my own faith story. Of course, I would never be able to speak on this channel about something that the Lord has not personally pruned in me. So of course, your queen has been living a very set apart life for as long as I can remember. I think my life has been pretty distinct to the people around me. Only it didn't make sense until about 5 years ago, I would say. Or it didn't occur to me that my life wasn't going to look like the people around me. So I mean, my sisters, my friends, my parents, desires for how my life would be. My life never really lined up with the expectations or desires from people around me. And I had to get to a place where I didn't allow that to bother me or deter me from pursuing the path God placed me on, okay? So I did do a testimony a couple weeks ago at this point about abandoning the logical to follow after God, and how being a first generation Caribbean American, to Caribbean immigrants, how being the first in my family to graduate from college, being the first in my family to start ministry, I've really been on a path of a lot of firsts, of breaking, the mold in a lot of ways. And in pivoting from a lucrative career in accounting to full-time ministry, I was mocked, I was ridiculed, I was misunderstood, I was judged, I was teased, I was, scolded even for choosing something that doesn't seem lucrative, that doesn't seem like a successful path to follow after God, to follow after a set of instructions that no one else can see but me. Because honey, when God calls you, it's not a conference call. God is not going to call up everyone in your inner circle and tell them, oh yeah, this is what I told your friend, your sister, your daughter to do. I hope you're on board with it. No. When God gives you a vision, it's your vision, honey. When God speaks to you, it is for your ears only. You are lucky, blessed even, if the people around you, or if anyone in your inner circle can understand or comprehend what you are called to as a daughter or son of the Most High. Most times you will be a trailblazer in your inner circle. You will be the only one around you doing the things God has called you to do. And it's hard, it's difficult, it's not always going to make sense. It's not ever going to make sense until it does. It's not really going to make sense until it makes a miracle. It's not really going to produce what you thought it would produce until, you're walking in harvest season and you're beginning to reap all the things that you've sown in tears, okay? Choosing to live an unconventional path, choosing to walk uphill, walk upstream, okay, swim upstream. It's difficult. You are probably called to be a leader. You're probably called to turn your back to people and walk in a certain direction, and God will add the followers. You're probably called to be a speaker, to speak out on behalf of injustices, to speak out on behalf of God's people, the body, to equip the body, okay? You're probably called to do something that no one around you is doing, and you're probably not equipped, or you haven't been able to model people around you to do so. And so you're a trailblazer, okay? And these are all very big callings, big roles to step into as a person who doesn't have a blueprint or a prototype to model after, okay? So getting back to my testimony, when I first stepped out on faith, like I said, I was judged. I mean, I still am. It's just when I first stepped out, it was very alarming and kind of jarring to receive that feedback from people in my inner circle, because you think these are the people who are supposed to support you no matter what. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes people will only support the version of you that they were comfortable with. Sometimes people will only support the version of you that supported and served them. Sometimes when you begin to do things differently, when you move differently, okay, when you are filled with the Spirit, you begin to walk differently, talk differently, make different moves. You move about your Father's business. You don't move to the whims of men. I don't ascribe to the whims of men in terms of women and men, okay? I don't let people's opinions, I don't die by people's opinions. Because honey, if you live for people's opinions, you will die by them. It may not even be a physical death. It could just be a spiritual death. You living for everyone's opinion of how you should live your life, you are spiritually dying at the hands of people's opinions. Had I listened to anyone on this path saying, oh, you're not going to make any money in ministry, you can't build a life in ministry, it's foolish to give up, work full time to build something that's not going to yield you any money. How can you live and not work? Had I listened to all the ridicules and the comments and the attempts to dissuade me from pursuing the path God had me on, this channel would have never existed. This channel would never exist. I would have never given birth to Healed Woman. I would have never pursued my purpose. I would have never stepped out on faith, believing bigger, following after God and allowing Him to lead me in a way that even to this day I don't always understand, but I trust. I trust that the Holy Spirit is leading me in the way that I need to be and where I need to be for His glory and for my good. And had I listened to the naysayers, to the doubters, to the negative-minded people, we wouldn't even be here today. And so people who do not understand where God is taking you will not understand why you have to walk the way you have to walk, why you have to journey the way you have to journey to get to a place that they have not been, made aware of. They've not been privy to. God will give you the vision, my dear. God will give you the instruction, the direction, the insight, okay? The aerial view of where he's taking you, so that when he brings you back down to earth and says, build, you already have an image in your mind of where this is going. You may not have 100% of the blueprint, of the map, of the outcome, but you have enough to start building right now. And God will continue to reveal next steps to you as you continue to step out. But the thing is, when you start building, you know that you're building an ark. The people around you don't know that. They don't know why you're building an ark. They don't understand the concept of rain. Come on, Noah. They don't understand why you have to have animals in there 2 by 2. They don't understand why it's taking you so long to build. But honey, when the rains come down and the floods come up, you'll be safe inside your ark 2 by 2, booed up, cuffed up, ready to procreate after the storm is over. I don't know. So there's always purpose to what God is telling you. And the voices in the interim, while you're building, while you're living the unconventional life, are purposed to build you up. They are. As unconventional as it seems, and as painful as it may be in that season to face opposition, honey, resistance, endurance is built in the face of opposition. Strength is built in the resistance. Literally, when you're lifting weights, what is building the muscle? The resistance. You resisting that weight and pulling it to your body and letting it go back down, okay? Is what is building up your muscles, honey. It's what's building up your faith to say yes in spite of all the no's. To say, I will continue to follow you, Lord, in spite of all the judgment. To say, yes, this is my path and I embrace it in spite of the mocking and the ridiculing. Had Noah stopped building the ark because of a few ridicules and insults and jokes, literally none of us would be here. You know, had Abraham stopped believing that he would be the father of nations, none of us would be here. Had Ruth stopped gleaning, okay, she never would have met Boaz. You know what I mean? Like, it really does take faith. But even in spite of opposition, even in spite of things not looking favorable, they're still purposeful. And I really want you all to hold on to the idea that God would never have you do something that would purposefully mock him, that would make him out to be a liar, that would make him out to be untruthful, untrustworthy. Your unconventional path, it's so much more than just you. It's so much bigger than just you. It's about purpose, destiny, legacy, generational wealth, kingdom wealth. Okay, it's about breaking generational curses in your bloodline. And yeah, it's going to require some tough skin on your end. Yeah, it's going to require that you be built up in a way that people will not understand. But honey, when due season arrives and you begin walking in the thing God promised you so long ago, and people are forced to wonder and stand in awe of all that God has done through you, for his glory, they will be humbled into silence. Humbled into silence, my dear. They will not have a word to speak against you. All the mocking and ridiculing, where have they gone? What would they have to say at that point when the promise manifests? They will be humbled into silence, and that's a promise. They will not have a foul thing to say about you because you have walked in the manifestation of something God promised you long ago. It just took a little bit of time, patience, and perseverance. But I promise you, my dear, it's always producing a miracle. And that is what we are ultimately building toward, God's miraculous wonders on this earth. Because we were given the heavenly vision. It's just a matter of us yanking our promise from the heavenly realm into the physical. And so when God says, I have someone for you, when God reveals the person he has for you and says, this is your husband, and you try to tell people around you that, God told me who my husband was, you will be mocked and ridiculed. When God says that you're going to become a major world leader, or that you're going to become a leader of many nations or a father to many nations, people will not understand what that even means. When God says that you're going to give birth and you're 70 years old, postmenopausal, barren, sterile, people are going to ridicule you. But God's word always stands. God's word is always spoken before it occurs. which means God is just giving you a heads up of what he's going to do in your life. He's just giving you a courtesy visit, a courtesy call of what he's going to do through you as his willing, yielded vessel. Will you say yes, even though it doesn't make sense right now, even though it does not feel good right now to have such a large promise over your life and no evidence to prove that it will manifest? But will you do it because your Father said he's going to do it? Will you say yes, knowing that your Father is not a liar, that his words do not return to him void? Everything he promised in his word came to pass, and everything he's spoken over your life is absolutely coming to pass. So when I first started on this journey, honey, the ridicule, the insults, the mocking, it hurt. It absolutely hurt in the beginning because I knew what God had spoken over my life, but I had no real way to prove it to people. I had no ministry to show them. I had no followers to prove it. I really had nothing but a vision and faith. And God is saying, you already have enough. You have more than enough to get started on building the ark that I told you to build, so that when the floods come, honey, you will be safe and protected in the promise that I manifest for you. And God is saying, will you trust me enough to build this ark in this season in the face of opposition, so that when it comes to pass, you are safe and protected in my promise? Will you allow God to build with you, to build that ark with you, okay? Everyone told me to get a job when I first started on this purpose journey, when I first started on this unique journey. Everyone was like, oh, you need to get a job. It's not unbiblical to work. You can still work and be in full-time ministry. It is, I don't want to say the names that I was called because they're not true. Excuse me, but of course people, resorted to name calling and just dragging my name through the mud so that they would shame me into their version of how my life should go. Or people will try to shame you into lowering your standards, or into dumbing yourself down, or into, lowering yourself to their level, to a level that they can comprehend, where whole time God is trying to elevate you. God is trying to break you through the mold. God is trying to take you on another level, and people are dragging you down to where they are, to where they can comprehend. And God is saying, no, I'm taking you to an incomprehensible level, one that you will have to maybe pull some people up to be with you, or maybe not. Because we know whenever God is trying to elevate us, we have to drop the weight. We have to drop the weight of people who do not understand what it means to elevate with a king. Not everyone who you are on this level with right now is purposed to elevate with you. So we know that sometimes the people who are so busy who are intent on dragging us down with them will not be able to elevate with us when God takes us higher. And they are just proving that they cannot elevate with us by their mocking and their ridicule. I know I said this is supposed to be an encouraging word, and it still can be, but I need to give you all the reality of what it looks like to serve a king, to walk in purpose, to walk in alignment. Means that when you walk in spiritual alignment, you're simultaneously walking out of alignment of who you used to be. And some people are really agitated when you no longer walk as who you used to be. Oh, you're no longer a drug dealer. You're no longer a lowlife. You're no longer a prostitute. You're no longer a stripper, a party goer, an addict. Some people are agitated, irritated by the fact that you would dare to separate yourself from who you used to be. Honey, God is calling you out of that right now. God is calling you out of that life and into the light. God is saying, I can still work on prostitutes and turn them into pastors. I can turn a stripper into an evangelist. You know what I mean? Like, God can work on men and women alike. I can turn a pimp into a protector of women instead of an exploiter of women. I can turn a pimp into a role model for men, saying that the pimp is not the role model, but he can turn the pimp into someone of model status. He can turn a prostitute into a Proverbs 31 wife. Don't even play with me right now. But God is saying, I need to call you out of that life and into the light. And the people who you used to hang with, who you used to serve, who you used to do business with in the darkness are going to hate the light that you are. They're going to hate it because they do not comprehend it. When you step into the light, the darkness cannot comprehend you, my dear. And that is a life lesson. And no matter what area of life that you decide to step into the light, that you allow the light to penetrate that area of your life, the darkness that used to exist there will be terrified of it because it cannot stand being brought to light. So people who live in darkness, you have to leave them there. You have to leave the people behind who continue to live in darkness, who are averse to stepping into the light with you, because they do not understand you. Therefore, they will hate you. They will harbor malice toward you because they cannot be exposed. They cannot dream of being exposed in the light that you are in, or exposed by you, since you're light. And God is saying, will you leave those people behind and follow after me in an unconventional path that will lead you to destiny? Okay? So a lot of people definitely put a lot of pressure on me when I first stepped out on purpose, when I first stepped out in this faith journey, because they did not understand where God was taking me. They did not understand what I would have to go through to become the person that God promised me I would become. Honey, when you live for the kingdom, you don't live by earthly systems. You don't do things in the earthly way, in the conventional way, in a way that makes sense, in a logical way. You're going to be called to do things that do not make sense to the untrained eye, to the carnal flesh, because you are now living by the Spirit. When you live by the Spirit, you are not obligated to work in earthly systems. You will not. You live above earthly systems. In fact, God will start to move in your life in a way that will not make sense on earth, but that's because your modus operandi, the way in which you operate, is from a heavenly perspective that is brought down here to earth. So no, the darkness will not comprehend it, because your directions, your instructions, your identity comes from a place of light. Look how much light is right there. Whoop. Captured all that light and we're bringing it down to earth. Okay? Your light, your identity, your truth, okay, comes from above. And people who do not have that same vision, who do not have that same aerial view of their life, who do not have that same understanding of how life works, will not understand your life and will who will mock and ridicule you for living that way. But you cannot allow people who have a narrow-minded view of the world, an earthly view of this life, to distract you or deter you from purpose. Excuse me, you can't do it, dear, because God is now who you answer to. You don't answer to men anymore. In the darkness, sure, you lived according to people's opinions and judgments, but now you serve a heavenly king. You answer to him and him alone. And of course, when you get married, you will answer to two kings. But for now, opinions mean nothing if you do not have God's backing. Opinions mean nothing when you have God's instruction, God's direction for your life. When God has given you a word for your life, that is the word that you live and die by. Okay? So a big sign that you are a chosen one, walking the unique path God gave you, is that you will receive mixed signals from loved ones, okay? You will receive mixed support from people who used to support you but don't know how to support you, who want to support you but don't understand the path that you're on, who cannot possibly elevate with you because they are not interested in being developed to elevate either, okay? People who only ascribe to one version of you, people who will not understand the healed version of you. Let me tell you something about unhealed people. They don't like to be around healed people because it makes them feel small. It exposes the areas of healing that they need that are still lacking in them, and they don't like to feel small. They don't like to feel exposed. So instead of growing and becoming the bigger person, they decide to stay in the low places of life, in the unhealed place of life, in the narrow-minded place of life, and they will drag anyone and everyone down with them whom they can. Which is why unhealed people dwelling with healed people is not always a recipe for growth and evolution, because the unhealed person has to be willing to grow, has to be willing to heal, has to be willing to mature. People who are immature and unhealed are the worst combination of people to hang around, to dwell with, because they don't want to change. They don't want to be exposed and they don't want to change. So by you being the beautiful light that you are, healed and unbroken and restored in Christ, you're not exactly a role model for them. You could be if they desire to change, but people who do not want to change, you can't force change on them. And so they will despise you because they cannot emulate you. They do not want to emulate you, and they lack the maturity to appreciate you, to appreciate the work that you've done to heal, to become a role model. And so they will forever mock and ridicule you as a way of deflecting their own insecurities, as a way of projecting who they wish they could be, but still fail to meet the mark. Okay, and that's a whole word. The darkness cannot comprehend the light, nor do they want to. And that's not on you. You can't change the darkness. You can only inspire people to change by being a light. Do not conform to the darkness, but instead transform, be transformed, so that you can continue to be a light in darkness, so that the people who are purposed to change because of your light are attracted to you and not repulsed. Okay? So you'll know you're set apart because people will either not support you, not want to be around you anymore. People start to drop like flies. They'll start to mock and ridicule. People won't understand. They won't know how to accommodate for this new version of you. And that's okay. As painful as it is, that's okay. It's just proof that you need another social circle. And unfortunately, these people may be family members. Okay, you can't exactly divorce or separate yourself from family, but there's a way to keep yourself at an arm's distance so that you still maintain your peace. So you still maintain your spiritual place of rest and peace, and so that you do not lose hope or sight of the vision God gave you in place of people's very temporary and quite possibly unnecessary opinions of your new life, of your new calling, okay? So you can't escape the process attached to your destiny, attached to your purpose, okay, attached to your calling, or to the provision that you need to be able to step out, okay? You can't escape the path connected to your promised land, or the path to your promised land. And trust me, people will try to deter you. People will try to distract you and detour you from where you need to be, simply because they don't understand where you're headed. And I really want you all to grasp this concept that no matter where you're headed, or wherever you're headed in life, there are specific people that are meant to accompany you on that journey. And as you continue to journey on, people will naturally just fall off by the wayside. And you can't make a pit stop for everyone who falls off along the way. You need to keep journeying, my dear. That's why God places people on our path, because we know those are the people who are supposed to journey with us. And the people who fall off, good riddance. The people who jump off, good riddance. See ya, bye. I am on this purpose path and I am pursuing it with all I have. And the people who are meant to be here with me will be able to keep up with me, will be able to understand me, appreciate the person I'm becoming. So I really want you all to take my example, my testimony, okay? It's not perfect. I've lost people on this purpose path. I've lost family, friends. I mean, really, they weren't really friends if I lost them. They were just seasonal acquaintances, people who could not journey with me for the long haul. I've lost people along the way, but when you lose for the kingdom, you still win. Even when you lose for the kingdom, you still win. Because guess what? You may lose the world, honey. You may quite literally lose the world, but you will gain your soul. You will gain something so much more precious. You will gain something so much more eternal, purposeful, and divine when you lose for the kingdom. When you die to self, when you lay yourself down for the kingdom, God will restore. And he'll give you friends, a new family, a new spiritual family, a new purpose family. So your husband and your children, or your wife and your children, he'll give you a whole new family to build your life. Family that is aligned with who you are. Family that is going where you're going. Family that you won't be at odds and at war with. A family that you can build one house, because a kingdom divided against itself will not stand. And the reason why things are falling apart right now is because God is removing that which will not stand the test of time. And he's going to replace it with the things that will. And I pray you all are really grasping this, because these are life lessons I wish I had 5 years ago, when I started to lose people, friends dropping like flies left, right, and center. And I had to learn, you know what, Lord, it's okay. They were never meant to journey with me anyway. And now, all the friends who were never supposed to journey with me are gone. I've made room for the people who will journey with me, for the people who do belong on my purpose path, people who will encourage me, people who do understand a God-sized vision, and what it means to build for the kingdom. Okay? And by you growing and healing and becoming this beautiful soul, you're going to attract mature, healed, beautiful souls as you continue to journey on. I promise you. You won't be isolated and separated forever. You will encounter and attract and manifest a whole new faith family, a whole new sisterhood, a whole new family, a purpose partner, okay? If these are the things God has promised you and God has allowed you to experience on your path, okay? So I do want to leave it there. We are, one for one with these part ones and part twos, okay? There is so much more I want to say about this topic, but I am going to break it into a second video. It may not even be a part two. It may just be related, but it could stand alone on its own content, stand alone on its own video. But I did want to leave it there and leave you all with just an encouragement that it does get better. You are a unique, chosen one for a reason. Your life's not going to make sense to the people around you, but that's okay. You are a trailblazer. You get to form your own path, forge ahead, and with the blessing and the provision from the Holy Spirit, you will make it through to the other side, where you will be met with a whole new faith family, a brand new purpose, calling, identity, and it will all be beautiful and it will all be purposeful. Okay? So with that, I pray that you all were encouraged, and I will see you all on the other side of your unconventional life.